Hey everybody, I'm Jay Scherr with Jay Scherr Business Consulting. We help entrepreneurs, business owners, and other leaders maximize their potential, build rock-solid foundations for their businesses, and create more freedom in their lives. And you've joined Business Minds Coffee Chat. Maya Angelou said, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it." Well, on today's episode, we're going to talk about how to maintain a positive mindset in the face of defeat or fear and uncertainty, dealing with energy vampires, strategies for mastering tough conversations, and more. My guest is a husband to Catherine and a father to Cole and Jade. He's a man of deep faith and spirituality who has helped millions of people have a more positive mindset. He's one of the top 3 leadership speakers in the world, a 17-time best-selling author of over 30 books, and the #1 consultant to CEOs, NFL, NBA, and MLB coaches, championship teams, and high performers. His list of clients reads like a who's who of the most well-known brands, including the LA Dodgers, Campbell's Soup, Southwest Airlines, Miami Heat, and Snapchat. He's been featured on The Today Show, CNN, CNBC, Fox and Friends, and many other media outlets. Please welcome the man who understands that growth doesn't come from staying comfortable. It comes from facing the challenges meant to strengthen us, Jon Gordon. Jon, it is so great to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Jay. Great to be with you.
Absolutely, man. I am really looking forward to this conversation. So I thought a good starting point for us would be for you to share with all of us what your favorite thing is about yourself and why that thing.
My favorite thing is not something I usually talk about. I don't usually talk about my favorite things about myself, but I would say it's grit. I don't think I'm especially talented in a lot of areas. I believe I have a lot of grit. The grit caused me to keep on working hard through the rejections, through the adversity when I wrote The Energy Bus and publishers would not publish the book. And then when it finally got published and the book came out, bookstores wouldn't carry it. So I went on a 28-city tour, paid for by myself, from city to city, sharing the message in the book. And that grit propelled me forward. As I built my business, one client at a time, one speaking engagement at a time, there was a lot of rejection, a lot of adversity, a lot of obstacles along the way. And I really believe that grit kept me going. Now, what is grit? I believe there's a formula for grit. Angela Duckworth has hers. She's the foremost researcher on grit, but I have my own formula, and it's inspired by vision and purpose. It is fueled by optimism and belief. It is powered by faith and hope. It is driven by love. If you don't love it, you will never be great at it. So love must and does propel you forward. Love has to be part of the equation if you want to be great. If you don't love it, you're going to quit. If you don't love your family, you're going to quit on them. If you don't love your team, you're going to quit on them. So love's a big part of it. And then it is revived by resilience. There's times we get knocked down, and that resilience causes us to bounce back. It's kept alive by stubbornness. Like, you just keep it alive. You're not giving up. You're continuing to keep going no matter what you face. You're a little stubborn. And if we're honest, includes a little fear of failure. That little fear gives us the edge. That little fear says, you know what? I want to prove myself. And that's the last part of it. The best, the ones who have the most grit, have a desire to prove themselves. And so that desire to prove themselves causes them to continue to keep going. They don't quit. They don't stay down. They want to make sure that they find some value within themselves, ultimately to become someone who can bring out the value in others.
Wow, I love that. It's so interesting how in this conversation, the way that you communicate, the way that you connect, the way you're connecting with me and all of those that are watching and listening right now is as impactful as it is when you're on a stage in front of thousands and thousands of people. The ability to be able to make that kind of connection and resonate and have your message land with people is quite extraordinary. Now, for all of those that heard the opening and heard some of the accolades and, best-selling author, all the books that you've written, all the stages that you've spoken on, the different coaching clients, etc., you would think when we hear that you've always been that way, right? And now that person has always been within you, but you did go through adversity. You didn't start out as a best-selling author. Yeah. So I want to go back in time just a little bit here, because you started to tell kind of a synopsis story of the energy bus. But I want to go back just a bit further, because to give our audience some context, I want to talk about how the energy bus came to be, but who you were prior to the energy bus coming out. What were you challenged with? What were you experiencing in life? And talk about the relationship you had with not only yourself, but with your wife and with others that were in your ecosystem.
Well, it's funny, when you were doing the introduction, I'm like, that guy seems like he's pretty awesome. Is that really me? Like, is it, because you go, wow, like, have I done all that? And in many ways, I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. I'm just still me. I'm the same person who, along the way, found himself, found his purpose, found his mission, and really found what I was born to do. I was miserable. I was negative. I was struggling with fear, stress, anxiety. I had just lost my job during the dot-com crash. So we're talking about 2001. I was about 31 years old. We just moved to Jacksonville from Atlanta. I used to be in the restaurant business. I sold my restaurants back to my partner, so I moved. And now, I have this job. I'm working for this .com. I'm doing well with the .com, but then I lose my job. So how am I going to support my family? How am I going to pay the bills? And my wife threatens to leave me because I'm being really negative. I'm being really miserable. I'm being a real jerk. And I'm blaming her for why my life was so bad, why I had not lived up to my potential. And so she had enough of that. And I knew I needed to change. I wanted to change when she gave me the ultimatum, like, change or it's over. And that began this journey of questioning, like, why am I here? What am I born to do? And writing and speaking came to me in that moment. I remember literally praying on my hands and knees, God, why am I here? What am I born to do? Why am I so miserable? And writing and speaking came. I said, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to encourage people the way that I want to be encouraged. I want to encourage people the way past authors had encouraged me. Ken Blanchard being one of them. I was a student at Cornell University. He was a professor at Cornell University. So he was sort of like my role model. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to encourage others. So that began the journey of saying, all right, let's go be a writer and speaker. But I couldn't just do that automatically. I had to provide for my family. So I second mortgaged my home, $20,000 in credit cards, and I opened up a Moe's Southwest Grill franchise, one of the first of its kind. It was like the 5th Moe's in the entire country. Now there's hundreds of them. And I opened up this store, hanging on by a wing and a prayer, hanging on by a thread, like, if it doesn't make it, we're done. I don't even know how I'm going to pay the bills of the restaurant if we don't make any money serving food that week. Like, it was that scary. It was that close to being bankrupt. But somehow, some way, through a lot of prayer, a lot of surrender, and it's where I found my faith was during that time, because you don't realize God is all you need until God is all you got. Like, I hit rock bottom and discovered that God was the rock at the bottom, and ultimately just prayed a lot and just trusted and surrendered and would say, somehow, some way, it's going to work out. And I also was working really hard. My wife and I were flyering the local movie theater, the cars that were there. We would flyer, hey, come to Moe's. We would offer buy one, get one free burritos. We went around to businesses selling our catering, trying to sell some catering business. So we did anything and everything possible to grow the business. Eventually, broke even. I mean, it was just one week after the next. Eventually, a good friend of mine told me about this company that wanted to learn about wireless technology. And that is the job I had with the .com industry. And I consulted with that company that wanted to learn more about it and how to sell it. And they paid me like $13,000 for 6 weeks of consulting. It was like
Okay.
a prayer answered. The money just literally came in like automatically. This like all of a sudden like this opportunity comes its way to me. Are you kidding me? And so I did that consulting while I had a manager running the restaurant. Took some of that extra money, put it into radio advertising, and next thing you know, our business started to grow. It started to boom, and then it really took off. And then after a few years of opening several more of those restaurants, while I was doing free talks to various organizations and nonprofits and getting my name out there to do these talks, I did like 80 free talks. I eventually sold the restaurants in 2005 and said, I'm going to focus on this 100%. And my wife said, what happens if it doesn't work? Like, we're finally comfortable now and we're making money from the restaurants. I said, no, I've got to go do this work. I was born to do this work. This is what I was meant to do. This restaurant stuff is draining me. She said, fine. She goes, but like, what happens if it doesn't work? I said, there are no other options. Like, there is no plan B. So sold the restaurants and literally said, I'm going to focus 100% on writing and speaking. And it was a tough year. It was a tough year. Things were not going well. All of a sudden, speaking dried up. And I wasn't doing a ton of speaking anyway, but I thought I would at least be able to do enough to make money. And a lot of it dried up. And then while walking and praying in 2006, the energy bus came to me. And I wrote it in 3.5 weeks of this pure inspiration and wrote that book. And it was about a miserable guy who's really negative, and his name is George. And he gets on a bus because he has a flat tire, has to take the bus to work. And he meets Joy, the bus driver. And she and a cast of characters teach him the 10 rules for the ride of his life that not only help him become a more positive person, but a better father, a better husband. And it's about getting his team on the bus and moving in the right direction with a shared vision, focus, and purpose. And these 10 rules were rules that just came to me as I was writing the book. Like I had a couple rules, and then more and more just came to me. Every day I would walk and pray, get new ideas. Wrote the book about George, who was literally based on me. And then George transforms from negative to positive. Not knowing that book would eventually, sell, 3.5 million copies now, get rejected by all those publishers though, finally find the publisher, go on that book tour. Next thing you know, people start reading the book, starts getting shared. Took 5 years for it to be a bestseller. So the journey has made me really appreciate just everything. Very grateful. And again, makes me feel very humble that when you give a nice introduction like that, I'm like, wow, is that really my life? Is that where I am now? Because I feel like I'm just getting started, and yet I've been doing it for a long time.
It really is an amazing story, and it absolutely speaks to that one word that you used at the top of the show, grit, right? Well, when I was thinking about you and when I was doing my research in preparation for our conversation today, I wrote down, as I thought about who you are, how you show up, how I met you and how you engaged with me, humility, relatable, authentic. Now, often for people who have the opportunity to meet others who they value, who they respect, who, whether it's a best-selling author or just someone who you just have so much respect and admiration for, sometimes they don't come across in person as the way that they show up maybe on social media or the way that they show up at a meeting. And in the case with you, you're who you are, whether you're on the stage, whether you're on a podcast, whether you're on a television show, an appearance somewhere, and it's authenticity, just relatability and humility, right? And
Good
that,
and bad. Good and bad. This is me, and that also means there are times that my negative side might show up. My team sometimes, like I'm known as the positive guy, but I'm not always positive. Sometimes I challenge my team. Sometimes I challenge my kids. Sometimes I get fiery. Sometimes I get, I'm competitive on the pickleball court. I'll curse sometimes on the pickleball court, but I make, there's no pretense where I'm saying, hey, this is me. I'm this perfect, positive person. I know I have flaws. I know I have challenges. I know that I'm not perfect. But I always do want to be the best version of myself. And I always want to give people the value they deserve and the love they deserve. And so I really do value the people that I meet along the way. And here's the thing. In the past, I have met people and I was so disappointed after meeting them because I admire them. And then you meet them and you realize they're nothing like they come across, as you just said. And I never want to be that person to someone else. I never want to disappoint the person who has read my books and liked it. I never want to disappoint that kid who's read my books. And there are times that I will take a stand for certain things based on my principles, and you may not agree with my principle. And some people say, "Oh, I can't believe you're standing for this principle." Like I always blah blah blah. And it's like, no, I'm just this is who I am and this is what I stand for. You could still love my books and perhaps disagree with me, and I could still disagree with you and value you and appreciate you. So some people get challenged by it. That's the world we live in today. But I will not let that affect me. I'm going to love people no matter what.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So give us some maybe tactical things that you do, that you personally do, because you've done a lot of work, right? You talked about some of the challenges you faced, the rocky relationship with your wife. You were negative. You had to turn that around. So give us maybe some tactical things that our audience can start to put into practice immediately that's going to help them be able to either build a positive mindset so they can handle adversity, so they can work through some of the most challenging situations they're going to face, or if they already have maybe a positive outlook, a positive mindset, what are some things that they can do to reinforce, embellish, and make sure that they're maintaining that on a consistent basis?
Well, I'll teach via an acronym today, and it's FUEL, F-U-E-L. And the F is feed the positive. Like every day we need to feed the positive, because if you don't have it, you can't share it. And research shows from Duke University that optimists work harder, get paid more, and are more likely to succeed in business and sports. And what these researchers found was that these optimists, because they believed in a brighter and better future, they took the actions necessary to create it. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what we believe determines what we create. So we've got to make sure that we're feeding it each day, or you could say fueling it. The U is uplift your state of mind. You have to do things each day that uplift your state of mind, because so many things bring down your state of mind, like negative thoughts lower your state of mind. Like, have you noticed that overthinking is always associated with negative thoughts?
Oh, yeah.
No one says I have too many positive thoughts. No one lays in bed at night with their thoughts racing, can't fall asleep thinking about how awesome their life is. No, it's always around negative thoughts coming in. Like, oh, I have too much gratitude today. I'm just feeling too awesome today. No, it's always the negative thoughts that are coming in. And those negative thoughts create clutter. And that clutter lowers our state of mind. So this is why it's so important to make sure that we're feeding the positive to uplift our state of mind daily. So what do? Well, I take a walk of gratitude. I wrote about this in the Energy Bus. Mm-hmm. Every day you take a walk of gratitude and you say what you're thankful for. And the research shows you can't be stressed and thankful at the same time. So if you're feeling blessed, you will not feel stressed. And doing this day in and day out literally rewires your brain from negative to positive. It transformed my life. It's where I wrote all the books in my head, actually, before I even wrote them, with these walks of gratitude that uplifted my mind, my soul, my spirit, and then actually nourished the brain, affected my brain. Because the brain is an antenna. You either tune into a positive frequency or a negative frequency. There are two main frequencies. And it's why everything in this world comes down to positive and negative. So which frequency are you tuning into every single day? Turn into the negative frequency, you're going to be bombarded with negative thoughts, negative words, and fear and worry and doubt, creating anxiety, a feeling of powerlessness, of despair, discouragement, ultimately leading to division. The root for the Greek word of anxious means to separate and divide. So when you're anxious, you actually feel separate and divided. What do negative thoughts do? Separate and divide you. Tuning into the negative frequency divides you. Tuning into the positive frequency uplifts you. It unites you. It gives you a sense of power, confidence, and encouragement. So that gratitude is essential. And so is my other tip, success of the day. At the end of the day, write down your one success of the day. Not all the things that went wrong, but the one thing that went right. I just said the brain is an antenna. What you focus on shows up more in your life. So every night you'll be going to bed a success. You'll wake up a success. You'll be looking forward to creating more and more success. And I've done this with teams and companies and organizations and said, hey, let's all every night focus on our successes. Let's see in 30 days, if we all do this, what happens? Do we experience more success? Just give it a shot and see what happens. It's amazing what happens when we do this. If you don't believe me, I want you to look for blue cars on the road today. Maybe you're listening to this while driving. Start looking for blue cars. You will now see more blue cars because what you look for, you find, what you focus on shows up more in your life. So that success of the day is key. And then one more tip, and I got a million tips, but I'll give just one more for this purpose. Talk to yourself. Don't listen to yourself. Ooh. The negative thoughts are going to come in, but those negative thoughts are not coming from you. How do I know? Who would ever choose to have a negative thought? Would you ever choose a negative thought? Would you ever choose a thought that says you don't have it today? The future's hopeless. You should give up. No. The negative thoughts come in, and what happens is you believe it. You reinforce it. You speak it out loud, and then it does become a part of you. So you're not the thoughts that you think. You're the thoughts you believe. And the key is when the negative thought comes in, don't believe the lies that they tell. Instead, speak truth to the lies. Speak words of encouragement, words of life. Talk to yourself instead of listen. And if you do this day in and day out, you're uplifting your state of mind. You're energizing your soul, your spirit, and you're giving yourself power, peace, courage, and life instead of the negative thoughts that slowly bring you down and cause you to feel discouraged and want to give up. And this really is a battle of negative versus positive. This is why these thoughts and the things we're talking about are so important, because earlier, even the introduction, you talked about how negativity beats us down, how it causes us to give up, how the battle we face actually could bring us down, or it could actually make us stronger and cause us to beat those tests, to overcome those tests, and become stronger as a result of that. Everybody's going to face the test on the journey. And by the way, you're meant to face the test, because every hero in every great movie has to face tests. They have to face a villain. You have to face the villain of negativity with positivity, with belief, with faith to create your future, to become someone who's strong enough to impact others. That's the power of this. And so talk to yourself. Don't listen to yourself. That's the U, and then also the E of encouragement. So talking to yourself instead of listening to yourself is actually the encouraging piece, where you have to encourage yourself day in and day out. And then I want you to encourage others. And why is encouragement so important? The word encourage comes from, actually also means to put courage into, I should say. The word encouragement means to put courage into. So when you're encouraging someone, you're putting courage into them. And most importantly, when you're encouraging yourself, you're putting courage into yourself. And then the L in fuel is to just focus on love instead of fear, because love is what casts out fear. So the minute you focus on love, it helps you overcome your fear. Fear starts to dissipate. If I'm worried about the outcome, I'm worried about messing up, I'm worried about the expectations, I'm worried about what people are going to think, then I'm operating in a low state of mind with a lot of clutter, a lot of thought, and a feeling of division. The minute I focus on love, that love brings me into connection. It brings me into a higher state of mind, and that love causes me to overcome the fear, to have the grit we talked about earlier, to create success, to ultimately build a great team, create a great accomplishment, build a business, become a successful entrepreneur, whatever it may be. So your love of your business, the love of what you're doing, helps you overcome the fear that holds you back. And when you're an entrepreneur, when you want to be successful, man, focus on loving it. Focus on loving the battle, even the battle. Love the fight, love the competition. And the minute you do, you will perform at a higher level. This is my greatest tip for athletes, pro athletes, college athletes, all the guys I work with, some of the best in the world. This helps them perform at a higher level. And I'm now glad I'm able to share this with your entrepreneurs.
That is so good. Love the battle. Man, I tell you what, you're making the hair stand up on my arms. So, very briefly, I want to talk about messages and legacy. And here's where I'm going with this. July 2014, you and your family are flying home from LAX. Pilot comes over the speaker, announces a mechanical failure. All the power goes out on that plane. The plane must attempt an emergency landing. You post on social media what you thought was going to be your final message. If you had a final message to everyone, what would that message be, Jon?
What I did post that day was, please read my books. And people thought I was being selfish. And I said, why am I being selfish? I thought I was dying. So it wasn't about I would benefit from you reading my books. It's what drives me now. I want you to read the books to benefit from them, because that's why I write what I write. I love to encourage people. I want more people to read my books, because I know the people who read them really find a ton of value in them. That's why I write. And they really find transformation in reading them. So my final message would be that the words and the thoughts we think and the words we say and what we read and really make a part of our life, a part of our spirit, our soul, lead to the transformation of who we're meant to be. So that way we can become someone who transforms others, impacts others, inspires others. And so a legacy is knowing how you want to be remembered, and it's lives touched and stories told. So become the person who gives people great stories to tell about you, and become someone who impacts a lot of lives. And to me, that's what life is all about.
Man, that is so beautiful. And Jon, you are absolutely doing that. You're an incredible human being. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here with us on Business Minds Coffee Chat, sharing of your incredible insights, your knowledge, your positivity, and giving us the tools that we need to be able to reach our full potential. I just want you to know how grateful I am for you. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. And just for those listening, fuel. If you want to have that document, we actually have something like that where you can actually just download it. Just go to my website. You'll find it under my resources, jongordon.com. If you like that, we got a lot of free resources there you can actually download and utilize. Again, we love giving people tools to help them transform and take action. So that's our goal.
Outstanding. And obviously, we will provide links to all of your social handles and your website in the show notes. And again, thank you so much. Much appreciated, Jon.
Thanks, Jay.
Wow, what a fantastic conversation. Thank you so very much for watching and listening. And I do have a quick favor. Would you please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts? That helps us expand our reach and be able to attract incredible guests just like Jon Gordon. As a matter of fact, when you're leaving a review for Business Minds Coffee Chat, do the exact same thing for Jon's podcast, the Jon Gordon Podcast. It is an absolute game changer. And to listen to more podcasts, all you need to do is visit jscherbusinessconsulting.com, click that podcast button. And until next time, my friends, keep learning, keep growing. Make sure you run out to pick up a copy of The Energy Bus or any of the other books by Jon Gordon and apply the lessons you learn. And we'll see you on the next Business Minds Coffee Chat. Take care, everybody.